Are you considering selling this year? If you saw our 7 strategies for a successful sale, you know the #1 tip to sell for a higher price is to stage well. Today we are joined by Dan Ennis of staging and interior design firm Domain. If you have any questions that we missed, please ask them in the comments.
Hi, I'm Ben Dixon.
And I'm Matthew Mackay.
We're a top-ranked real estate team in Manhattan with over 1 billion sold and over 100 5-star reviews. And by the end of this video, you'll understand how to best prepare your home for selling for the highest price in New York City.
Dan, you've completed over 300 staging installations. Who benefits most from staging?
Well, Matthew, staging can range from decluttering and accessorizing to light renovations and full-scale furniture installations. Every home benefits from putting itself in the best position to earn top dollar, which is the whole point of staging. But the ROI on staging is most dramatic when the price per square foot is very high or when the apartment is in poor conditions, such as estates.
Tell us more about staging an estate sale.
So in a typical estate sale, no work has been done on the property in many decades. The floors are in poor condition, the paint and wallpaper are peeling, and the decor and lighting are very dated and worn. We recommend contractors who come in and paint, replace fixtures, and refinish floors in as little as 2 to 3 weeks. Then we come in and install the furniture for a dramatic transformation. The estate benefits enormously because of the initial photos, which are the first showing, of course, in any listing, which drives a lot of foot traffic and calms prospective buyers' nerves about a very daunting renovation.
What do you do first, and what is most important when staging a resale?
So our first step is creating a floor plan with the ideal furniture layout. Getting the scale of the pieces right is of the utmost importance to maximizing space and showing the full utility of the home. Then we select a color palette for the home and begin sourcing pieces that fit into the overarching vibe of the building and the neighborhood. The goal is to convey a livable but luxurious and aspirational home.
How much should sellers expect to pay for staging?
So it depends on the scope, of course, which can range from light accessorizing for a few $100s to painting, redoing floors, and furnishing a full apartment, which would be north of $50,000. What's most important to remember is that the staging is a short-term investment that can have a huge payoff, as the seller recoups money through both a higher sale price, lower carrying costs because the home would sell faster than if you didn't do anything at all. Finally, it's worth remembering that the cost of staging can be added to the cost basis of the property, making it highly tax advantaged.
That's a pretty major investment. Does it pay back for sellers?
Yes, and it's most important to benchmark against how the property would perform without staging and not necessarily against some sort of high watermark of a property value from a few years ago. We've had a few instances where sellers chose to go ahead with a listing without staging and had no success after a few months. One in particular was listed for 3 months with no offers, and then the seller hired us, relisted, and it was in contract within 2 weeks for over 17% over ask.
What is your guiding principle when you're designing a staging project? What is the most important thing for the buyer to feel when they enter the home?
That they want to live in the home, of course. There's no better feeling than when the team leaves our stagings and it looks so incredible and inviting, and we say to each other that we want to live there. Our aesthetic is modern comfort. We want the home to be warm and inviting while still conveying a sense of luxury. So we use luxury brands like Diptyque candles and Aesop soaps in spots throughout the home to reinforce an aspirational vibe.
That makes a lot of sense.
What was your most fun project, and do you have any before and after pictures to share?
So estates are some of the most gratifying projects because the transformations are truly unbelievable. We recently worked on a rarely available Central Park West tree-lined estate with soaring ceilings. We recommended a contractor who removed wallpaper, painted, refinished floors, and changed out lighting before we staged, and the result was one of my favorite projects we've ever worked on.
So what was your most challenging project, and do you have any before and after photos we can see?
So our first project to be featured on $1 Million Listing was very stressful because in addition to the added pressure of the exposure, we went into COVID lockdown during the middle of work. At the time, we had nearly 20 projects paused, and of course, all of the clients thought that their project would be the first to install once the city reopened. We were navigating a totally surreal environment with COVID testing, masking, and much more restrictive building rules and hours. On top of that, we were doing a lot of work on this apartment and there were a lot of stakeholders. But in the end, it came out great, and it's one of my all-time favorite projects, selling very quickly in a tough market.
How often do buyers ask to purchase the furniture, and how does that work?
So before COVID, it was most common for buyers to buy all of the furniture in secondary home markets like the Hamptons, but a little bit less likely in Manhattan. It was routine, in fact, because the buyers wanted to be able to use the property quickly, even if they intended to hire a designer or swap some pieces over time. Post-COVID, With all of these supply chain issues, it's now much more common for the new owners to buy all or some of the furniture. And why not? The furniture looks great and is ideally scaled for the size of the home.
And how does your team do it differently?
Well, at Domain, we always want to tailor our designs to fit the neighborhood and the vibe of the apartment. We don't want every property to look exactly the same. And while we neutralize the space to obviously appeal broadly, we still want to give it some personality and feel like someone lives there. We also go the extra mile to be easy to work with, managing everything with the contractors, with the building, window cleaners, housekeepers to deliver a fully turnkey experience for our brokers and sellers so that they just have to sit back and wait for the photos.
Dan, thank you for taking the time to be with us today and for offering your expertise.
And thank you for watching. We hope you are feeling more knowledgeable now than when you started this video. If you have any questions about buying or selling in New York City, the current real estate market, or anything in this video, please reach out to us today to set a time to speak. The next move is yours.